light of the moon near the sea and isolated places in the countryside, we see immersed in bitter reflections, all things take on yellow, indecisive, fantastic forms. The shadow of the trees, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, runs, comes, returns in various forms, flattening, sticking against the earth. Languid notes through the leaves, and the owl sings its grave lament, which makes the hair of those who hear it stand. Then the dogs, enraged, break their chains and escape from distant farms. They run around the countryside, prey to madness. Suddenly, they stop, look in all directions with fierce concern. Their eyes fire, and the dogs leave their ears numb, raise their heads, swell their terrible necks, and begin to bark. In the west, they bark at the moon, against the mountains looking like giant rocks in the distance. They bark at the cold air that they suck in with full lungs, which makes the inside of their nostrils red and hot. They bark against the silence of the night, against the owls, whose oblique flight skims their snouts. They bark against their own barks, which frighten them. Away on his horse after committing a crime, against the snakes stirring the heather, which makes their skin tremble and their teeth grind. They bark at the trees whose leaves, softly cradled, are as many mysteries as they do not understand, which they want to discover with their fixed, intelligent eyes. Bark against their own barks, which frighten them. who have not found anything to eat during the day. They bark at the rocks on the shore, against the lights which appear on the masts of invisible ships. They bark against the dull sound of the waves, against the great fish, which swimming show their black backs, then sink into the abyss. And they bark at the man who makes them slaves. And they bark. They bark against the lights. They bark against the dull sound of the waves. They bark against their own barks.